it's Chloe. Welcome back, or welcome to the channel. So today, the modifications have been piling up in my garage. Well, piling is kind of an exaggeration because all the things I have are not physically like that big. But I have a couple things to install on my Tacoma, and now that it's Friday evening and the work week is done, what better way to spend it than by installing them on my Tacoma? And I genuinely have a good time keeping my hands busy with this sort of stuff, so this is gonna be fun, and I wanted to take you guys along with it, and let's just cut right to the chase and see what we'll be installing. Okay, so first up, we got something really cool from the one and only Tacoma Beast. And by the way, for Tacoma Beast, there is always a 5% discount code for anything you might want on the website. It's been so awesome they were able to make a code just for my viewers because you really can find so much for the Tacoma on there. But anyways, with this product, I've known about this for years, and honestly, when I first saw pictures of this online, I liked it, but I didn't think it was something I needed right this second now. But recently I saw these on someone else's truck in person, and I was honestly just blown away. And you really can't expect anything less from a product manufactured by Miso Customs. If you know, you know. But anyways, these are their Puddle pods. And basically, they are LED lights that hide underneath the mirrors and illuminate the ground when you unlock the truck. Or because I have the smart key as well, will also illuminate when I walk up to it. I'm not 100% sure of it, but I think these LEDs are or were at some point manufactured by VLEDs, which you all know if you're familiar with the channel, I absolutely love. I have all their lights all over my truck, and now I'm gonna have these. Now, based on the install video I saw for this product, I think this is going to be a little bit of work to actually get installed. So my plan is to try to do them first, get them out of the way, so to speak. But I am really excited for the result. Hopefully my camera will pick up how amazing they are, like what I've seen in person, but I will let you guys know. Next up, I have these, and these are rear bump stops. So basically at the end of last year, I did a collaboration with AccuTune Off-Road, and these guys are the suspension experts. Like, they revalved my Fox shocks, which I thought already rode pretty good out of the box. But they just made them incredible because if you don't know, your ride quality is affected a lot by the weight you carry around and all the accessories you specifically have on your truck. But anyways, I also run their bump stop and U-bolt flip kit, and they just released this new version of bump stops for it, and they offered to send these to me. So we're gonna replace these, and these are a little bit different than the first version or the version I currently have on my truck, so I'll let you guys know how they ride. By the way, these are gonna be like a 2-second install, which is great. We love those. Also, in their package, super nice of them, they sent me their newly released 4th of July themed t-shirts. I love the back here. It says "Stacking Shims since 2001. Along the lines of suspension stuff, another super small thing I have is replacing my dust caps for my upper control arms. Now, these are just very nicely machined billet aluminum covers for the Uniball, and it's not because I don't currently have dust caps on my upper control arms or they broke or anything. This dust cap just has the logo and updated name of the company that makes my upper control arms, which, by the way, I have been loving. Obviously, you could tell that would be Elevate Suspension, but yeah, this is gonna be another quick and easy one. Okay, the last thing I have is something I've installed already on the channel before, but I need to reinstall it because of what I've changed inside my truck. And you'll understand in a second. But anyways, you know those pesky fingerprints all over your screens and dash? Well, I wasn't a big believer in getting screen protectors for everything because I didn't really think they would help with that or fit well until I ran into these guys, Screen Protech, and they've got precision cut protectors that are very fingerprint resistant. If you know like what PPF film is, the quality of their film feels very similar to that. And what I've liked over the years about this product is if you have any existing scratches on your surfaces, which was the case with my instrument cluster, putting one of these on completely hides them. So where are we applying these films again on? Well, I used to have the factory radio in my Tacoma, but I switched that out for an aftermarket one, a Stinger High 10 specifically. So I needed a new screen protect, of course, because the screen size was different and the shape was different. And they made one to fit that exact screen for me. So I'm gonna put that on my Stinger, and now all the fingerprints that have been collecting on there won't annoy me. So hopefully all this stuff won't take too long. Again, this is really the only one I'm concerned with taking quote unquote the most time, because I want to have time to change my oil and everything tonight. All right, let's actually go now. Also, I forgot to mention this, but if you have watched the channel for a while and are noticing this, I actually removed my rock sliders and installed these side steps. These are actually brand new side steps Trail FX sent me, and I installed these last week, and I'll be keeping them on my truck for a little while because I'm doing a comparison video between getting side steps and rock sliders for the Toyota Tacoma. So yeah, you might see these in the next few videos, but I thought I'd mention that in case anyone thought something happened with my rock sliders. Alright, so getting right into it, as I mentioned, I want to start with these Puddle pods because the install is going to be the most involved, and let me tell you guys, it was. But here's everything that comes in the box. You get the lights on the replacement plastic panels plus wiring harnesses. And I watched their install video, but you can see on the paper instructions here, we want to verify all of the electronic connections before mounting everything, because it would just suck to tuck in all that wiring, make everything perfect, only to find out that you had like a defective piece or something. So I'm just going to do a quick wiring test by taking the A-pillar panel off, tapping into the OEM harness using the provided MISO one to make sure my pods actually turn on, and I'd highly recommend you do the same. And bingo, we got light! So that's the first one, and I was so relieved when the second one here turned on too. So you can really see how quote unquote simple in theory this install is, like at least what wires plug in where, but I do say in theory because routing these wires is the big kicker here. I mean, it's not straightforward, but you really need to get ready to dive in for a few hours of patience and work, but I truly think this is worth it. And hopefully through this video, you can see all of my own personal pitfalls so that hopefully you can avoid them and your install is a bit smoother than mine. All right, so this is the start of routing wires, basically just taking both ends of the long wiring harness and pulling them through the dash so that they come from the bottom of the A-pillar to where near the fuse panel is. And you'll see there's one shorter end and one longer one. Now it's time to remove the door panel because this is how we're going to tuck all of our wires behind. So to do that, the first thing is removing this plastic push pin by pressing it in and pulling it out. Then there's a screw behind the door handle, but there's a plastic piece covering it, so I had a plastic trim removal tool to pry it out. And then there's one last screw inside that pocket. Now the door panels come apart in two pieces. First, this smaller panel, then everything else is basically like one big piece, and with everything unscrewed and that pin out, you can start lightly prying away all around the edges to remove it. For the big panel, there are these white plastic clips all around, so I'd recommend trying to locate them either by feel, like where there's more pressure, there's probably going to be a clip there, or by just trying to see and then using a tool that allows you to pop each clip off like I'm doing here. Once your panel comes off, the only thing you have to do is disconnect these two wiring harnesses so that you can completely remove the panel and have room to work. And I'm not gonna lie, these are hard to remove given the fact that you just have to hold the panel and there's also just not a lot of room to work with. But for each harness, just find the part of the clip you're supposed to press down and pull it out straight, and that'll make the panel free. Now we have clearance to remove the mirrors, so there are these three holes that have nuts holding the mirror in place. They are covered with stickers, so just remove those, then take a 10mm socket and remove each nut. Now this is where my first little mishap happened. As you can see, my nut fell into the cavity, and that space is so small, it's not continuous with the entire door, so it doesn't fall all the way through, but it's a very tight space, like you can't fit your finger in there or anything, and it was like 30 minutes to get out with some safety wire, so just be careful when removing the nuts, use a magnet, whatever, to make sure they don't fall in, and you'll save yourself a headache. With the last nut, make sure you hold up the mirror because that's of course what's supporting it, but yeah, to take it out, just route the wiring harness through the hole it's coming out of and you should be good to go. Also notice how my windows are open here. That helped a lot in terms of working because you can stick one hand all the way around to the other side easily. With the mirror out, all we're doing is replacing the bottom plastic piece with the miso piece that has the light on it. And then also using one of these mini wiring adapters that comes in the kit and routing that through where the OEM wire is going. Just basically follow it and then actually connect it to the wire coming out of the light. Then I'm snapping the miso piece in place and taping up my new wires to my OEM ones. Alright, now put the mirror back on, and I have no idea on earth why I did this, but do not copy me on this step. I tried to put the small trim piece back on, but in doing so, I didn't have it aligned properly, and when I pulled it back, one of the little white clips fell into the cavity. You guys, I was so frustrated. It took me so much time to fish that piece out, but I'm putting this footage here because I don't want somebody to make the same mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. It wasn't even time for me to put that trim piece back, but yeah, just be careful. But anyways, once I did fish out that white piece, it's time to move on to arguably the hardest part of this install, routing the new wire from the cab into the door, which means pulling it through this boot, which is no easy feat. It basically involves pulling each side of the boot out, which to do that, on the door side, you can just work your way around, but on the cab side, you do have to detach a few harnesses that are connected below the fuse panel, and I didn't get footage of it, but you'll be able to very easily identify which ones when you're actually doing this. And then I cut away at the factory tape holding everything together because we gotta stick a new wire through. And remember how I said there was one long and one short end to the wire you pulled through from the A-pillar? Well, now there's the tedious task of trying to fit and work for this side the shorter wire through the cab side of the boot to the door side of it, and this is tricky. Off camera I used a bunch of techniques like using a welding rod since it was easier to fit through and taping the wire to it and trying to pull it through, but I honestly just found the best way for me was to use nothing and just work the wire through slowly. Yes, my hands cramped up after this, but you do feel like $1,000,000 when the other end comes through. And you should, because honestly, we just got through the hardest part of this install. Well, we still have to do it on the other side, but still. Alright, put your boot back in place and then peel this plastic very, very slowly. Don't rip it because we're going to press it back down, but we do need to pull back one side so that we can fish our wire through the door, and then it will come out towards the middle, and that's where we want it to be so we can connect it to our mirror. And now that everything's connected and since the door is open, we should get some lighting, which you can see we did and I was stoked about. Yes, we already checked that this will work, but now this really means that everything is in place except for the door panels, so we didn't ruin any of the wiring along the way, which is good. So now put everything back together, but don't forget to reconnect those two wires to the big door trim piece. And now it's time to revisit, my friend, that tiny other panel. And sometimes, you guys, it just takes a gal to make mistake after mistake to finally learn. I truly thought I was gonna nail this one because we knew to be careful, and I checked the alignment, and I went slow. But as embarrassing as this is, that white piece fell in again. And you could hear and see the frustration and disappointment on my face. So that was fail number 3, but I finally got smart enough, if you want to even call it that, to put the white clips onto the panel piece itself, so that even if I didn't line up things properly, there was a much smaller chance of the tabs pushing the white clips back into the cavern, and this worked perfectly. So point being, learn from my mistakes, guys. So route that long wire behind the center of the dash through this hole, remove some of the front floor panel pieces, and then repeat everything we did on the driver's side over here. And you best believe, right away, first thing, I removed those white clips and put them on the trim piece before anything bad could happen. Yeah, please do the same. You know, you guys, I always wonder if mods like this are going to look tacky. You know, I'm a big fan of that OEM Plus style with nothing crazy on my truck, but I think these pods are awesome, and I think they integrate really nicely with the look of the truck. Like, color temperature is something I'm so picky about, but I'm happy to report it matches the OEM LED headlights, at least just visually. The fact that they fade on and off with the doors makes them look very professional. Also, the black plastic pieces with the actual miso light pod match the finish and texture of the OEM plastic piece so well. And besides looks, of course, you know, these are very utilitarian at night, especially out on the trails where there's absolutely no light. With the passenger side, one extra thing you do have to do is when you're putting in the miso trim piece with the light into the mirror, you might struggle with getting it to sit, and that's because the light pod does cause clearance issues because of a tiny piece of plastic inside the mirror. So the simple solution is to just trim that away. And when I was using flush cuts to do that, somehow I broke them. I don't know what makes this plastic so strong, but it broke mine. But I used my backup set, and you can see it's just a tiny little piece you have to cut off in order for that piece to snap in. So with these lights, Tacoma also offers the add-on switch option where you can have full control, like turn them on with a switch rather than just turning them on automatically when the doors are open or having them on all the time or off all the time. I might eventually upgrade that because I do have a blank switch spot, but let me know what you guys think, especially if any of you out there have been running Puddle pods for a while. You know, I haven't hit the trails with these yet, but I wonder if I can control them turning on while I'm driving. Maybe they can sort of act like ditch lights. They are extremely bright, and I'd love to take advantage of them in that way. And I'm not used to having ditch lights in the first place, so it seems like they would be an upgrade, but maybe I shouldn't expect that out of them because that's not what they're made for, but I'm just thinking out loud here. So with that, I've got the truck put back together, and check it out. Let's see what these look like in the dark too. Truly so bright, and the beam pattern is very wide and extends out pretty far. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, that install kind of beat the crap out of me. It took a long time. I think the driver's side was like 3 hours because I was figuring stuff out. And then the passenger side went a lot quicker and was only like 30 minutes long. Definitely this makes the list of one of the tougher mods. I don't know how many people who are watching this video are following alongside and also installing this on their truck, but if you are doing that, definitely put aside some time. But I think the time investment, at least for me, was totally worth it. I mean, these are so awesome. With that, I'm moving on to a much easier install, the dust caps. So with my upper control arms, this is just removing 5 screws, taking the old one out, putting the new one in. And if you're curious what the old dust caps look like versus the new ones, here they are. You could see similar logo, but new name. They went from Element Hard Parts to Elevate Suspension. These control arms have paired so well with my Fox shocks. I really like them for the anodized look to match the shock bodies, but obviously what they are more so there for are, because of how strong they are, they maximize wheel travel, and best of all, they have double adjusters, so my alignment guy has never had issues with aligning my truck with my lift and bigger tires. Now, dust caps are important to have because they prevent mud and water and gunk from getting into the uniball, and that's why you want to make sure you have them. These were all too easy to swap out, and if you get Elevate Suspension upper control arms, these dust caps already come with them. I know that's not the case for every upper control arm out there, but you really want to be running dust caps. But yeah, it's great to have the updated ones now. Next up, I'm going to change the bump stops, and if you're like me and already have the U-bolt flip kit on the truck and all you're actually doing is changing the bump stops themselves, yeah, no need to do what I'm doing here, which is removing the wheel and tire, but I'm just doing this on one side of my truck to give you guys a better visual and make more room. The wheel and tire are off just so I could show you guys this in more detail. Obviously, there's not a lot of room. So again, this bump stop kit is from AccuTune Off-Road. This, of course, is the bump stop itself. The old bump stop, it's pretty easy to take out and put a new one in. Just pulls right out of the cup. But real quick about this whole kit, depending on your lift and what kind of setup you have, they've got different height cup / plate setups. You want to use the correct one because bump stops are of course here to protect your shocks from bottom out. So if you have the incorrectly sized bump stop or you lift and you don't adjust your bump stop space accordingly, that can damage your shocks. So you definitely want to make sure you have the right setup. They have a chart on their website for that. But also with this kit, you could see that the U-bolts are flipped. Now, what's the advantage of this? Well, you can see here, you're gonna have a little bit more ground clearance with these flipped U-bolts. So I've loved this kit and I've loved this bump stop, but now we're going to be putting this new black one in, and I believe the black ones are softer, and I don't know if this is placebo, but just based off of feel, they do feel a little bit softer in compound. So we might notice a difference, but you can see how easy this install is. And that's it. On the other side, I'm not even gonna take off the wheel and tire again. It was just to show you guys, but yeah, new bump stops. And here's me swapping out the other side without removing the wheel and tire. So easy. The last thing I'm installing today is this screen protect for my Stinger High 10 aftermarket radio. But Screen Protect also has kits for the OEM radio and dash, of course, for the Toyota Tacoma. You get everything you see in this kit, but of course your pieces will match up with whatever you have. So a solution bottle, the film itself, a squeegee, and a microfiber towel. Here's the current state of my screen, literally a fingerprint magnet. And like, if you touch that thing, boom, instant fingerprints. So based on my past experience, I'm excited for the screen protect because I know it's gonna help fix that. So what I do is I clean the screen first, of course, then putting the solution both on the screen itself and film to lubricate it. I start laying the screen down on the surface, and you can move it around and adjust while there's still that wet layer before you squeegee out all the water. So just spend this time lining everything up and then start squeegeeing out the water. And I like to start by putting the squeegee inside the towel, and then after most of the liquid is gone, go directly with the squeegee. And the finished look is so great, a lot more fingerprint resistant too, and also it just looks so shiny and new. So these are a few new things I have installed on my Toyota Tacoma. We've got the screen protect, the bump stops from AccuTune Off-Road. We've of course have the Miso Puddle Pods kit from Tacoma Beast. And can't forget about the Elevate suspension dust caps. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's always really fun installing new things. Let me know what you guys think of all these new things. And yeah, if you want to connect more with me or get more content, I post more in real time on my Instagram. It is at ChloeKuo Taco. Other than that, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.